There's a Bulletstorm remaster coming.
Yeah,
that kind of
around
leaked.
E3.
Yeah.
The one thing that was new for this is like, if you pre-order, you can play that entire campaign as Duke Nukem with fully new recorded VO.
Yes, because it's coming out of Gearbox.
They seem to be putting some work into
Also, it's $60.
That's a little weird.
Supposedly. People found some, maybe that was an error, but people found some like retail listings that indicated it might be $60.
Yeah, that's I can't. Okay, I liked Bulletstorm. It was better than I certainly thought it would be based on like some of their approach in the lead up to that game's release. You're like, oh man, the attitude in this is going to be terrible. That said, I feel like playing that entire game as Duke Nukem is them finding a way to make good on the promise of how bad that game looked prior to its initial release.
I gotcha.
So that seems like the exact opposite of what they should be doing with that.
Only if it were like a Last Action Hero style, like he's really confused and it's not working out for him.
Like
here.
that's, I feel like that's the Duke Nukem story we've actually and also I think the only valid approach for Duke, or one of the only valid approaches for Duke Nukem in 2016 beyond, or 2008 beyond at this point,
is to have it not work out.
Is to have it not work out for him. Is to have people just go like, "Fucking what?"
Right, like
and
have
everything he says.
Have
like,
all the enemies be like
every single person reacts is like, "Yeah, whatever, Dad." And
or just shoot him while he's monologuing.
yeah,
a
it's
lot.
just like, "Fucking come on, dipshit!" Like that character sucks. And like Gearbox's sad march of like, I'm surprised Duke Nukem is not in Battleborn yet.
Oh wow.
You know,
Yeah.
like that has to that probably would have happened if Battleborn had taken off, right? Maybe at this point they're like, oh, maybe we don't want to harm Duke Nukem. It's like, yes, that valuable character.
Like, is Randy Pitchford just like wandering into meetings and be like, well, what
I spent all that money on Duke.
What if Duke Nukem was there too?
I spent all that money on Duke.
I just think, you know, he's a very popular character. He's very funny. I like his. I like
yeah,
him a
like
lot.
Duke needs its Doom, right? Like Duke needs a really.
Can that happen though?
But like, I wouldn't have guessed it would happen for Doom. So like,
Duke needs to be encased in concrete and launched into the fucking sun.
but then come back.
No,
and not,
no.
have a. I have more faith in people's creativity and the minds that are in this industry to figure it out than like to just jettison him. Like, I think somebody can do it, and Doom has given me hope that like there might be a way out of it for Duke.
Duke Nukem was never a good character.
So that's the weird thing is that I've in driving with Alex, and we talked about some of the Duke Nukem stuff in the car. Duke Nukem the character was maybe the lamest part about Duke Nukem 3D. Like Duke Nukem 3D was cool because the engine was more capable than Doom's, and they came up with unique weapons that were fun to use in multiplayer, and they had a lot of novel things to interact with in the campaign. Like him quipping was like funny once, but barely, and it was like not the thing that like it was the wrong takeaway from Duke Nukem 3D. Like working cameras and flushable toilets and stuff like that was the proper takeaway from what Duke 3D was. Like trip mines and cool multiplayer traps and
like
stuff.
decoy holograms.
Yeah, like
and,
that was the cool stuff about Duke Match.
I don't see, like, you're right, yes, for sure, but it was also one of the first games to have a voiced first-person protagonist that gave personality to it. Because
personality that they lifted from action movies and all that sort of stuff.
Whether it sucked or not, it was the first time you're interacting with something and your character is saying "shake it, baby" or whatever.
He's Poochie the dog with a flat top. Like, there's nothing actually cool about him.
The only lines of dialogue from Duke Nukem 3D, from Duke Nukem period, that I can think of and go like, all right, that still works, is when he's picking up human shit out of a toilet and going, oh, what am I, you know, like that bit is the only one that I go like, yeah.
Why is that?
Because I'm a fucking nightmare person.
Okay, fair enough.
So like the idea of like, let's make a funny protagonist all these years later, when they went on to make several more like third person Duke games for console and really tried to drill that thing home over the years and just failed miserably time and time again, culminating in the eventual release of Duke Nukem Forever. Like I feel like you can close the book on Duke Nukem the character. Like that was not the thing that I liked about Duke 3D. It's the thing that like they kept trying to nail again and again. It's the thing that they thought was the thing that was going to help it catch on. And there were some people that latched on to that bullshit. But that's not the thing that should have been the lasting thing from Duke Nukem. But unfortunately, the things that should have been lasting from Duke Nukem have nothing to do with the property, the IP, the character, any of that other stuff.
I think that's a little too easy to look back at that time period and say he was totally out of place. Like that,
he wasn't out of place.
He
wasn't out of place then.
Yeah,
but like
back then, I think he came out at a time that was very much in the it's
It's
like
the attitude era of
like
games.
it's, well, even it is like looking back at like wrestling at that time and being like, you can't do that stuff today. Like you can't have like the Iron Sheik come out and like play that off as like. I mean, I guess they try sometimes.
No,
right?
they still no.
like,
wrestling has no shame.
But some of that stuff just it doesn't work. But I feel like they never moved on. Right? They always wanted to recapture whatever that was.
There's and there's probably room for a modern, postmodern, whatever you want to call it. There's probably room for a take on a Duke Nukem-esque character.
Right.
But I think if you want that character to be Duke Nukem, then I think the only way I see through it is to have Duke be Duke, and then every other character in the game looks at him and goes, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
Like, shut up, dipshit. Because that's what I said the whole time I played Duke Nukem Forever.
Like you need to have like it needs to or be like something where you're playing alongside Duke and Duke dies very early in a very dumb way.
Right.
And it's like, and he's doing something.
Yeah, or yes, it's like
dumb.
there's the handoff of like Duke Nukem is your sidekick, and he says all this shit, and
it's
every
like,
response
remember
from
me, I'm whatever, and everybody's like, fuck that guy. Oh my god,
Like there's totally
why
like
did you bring Grandpa with you?
there's actually kind of an amazing like edgelord redemption story you could totally write for that dude in a better, more interesting, grounded game. But like, I don't think anyone's going to try to do that with the Duke Nukem property. I think they're just going to keep trotting him out there as like, no, everyone still thinks Duke's super cool, right? And that is just going to fail miserably
And it's
every
like
time.
it's not the like, you know, like there's nothing about Duke Nukem that's offensive. Like in terms of like the style equips and all that other stuff. I just look at it and just go like, this isn't just, it's just not funny.
It's just corny
sad.
as shit,
It's
and not
corny,
in a good
lame.
way.
Like we've been down this road for years. Like you gotta fucking bring something else.
Right. I mean, that's what we all recognize, and that's what I'm saying. Like maybe there's a way out to embrace that.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's the only way to embrace it properly is to acknowledge that it like, doesn't
destroy
work.
it. Yeah.
And totally break it down.
Destroy it.
But that self-aware
But I feel like if
action
they-
hero thing, like
yeah.
I think that's what they were going for with Matt Hazard, and that was not funny or cool in any way.
And I think that like it's well, I mean, you know, they executed poorly on that concept. It doesn't mean it couldn't be done right. I just don't know that like when you look at like what Duke Nukem Forever was, and when you look at them like what they showed in this trailer of Duke Nukem and Bulletstorm, just kind of like bleeped out curses and Duke being Duke with no acknowledgement of just like this is dumb.
Right.
Like you're just like, oh, like someone involved in this creative process must actually think Duke Nukem is cool. So like, I wonder. Like I just don't know. Like that's the part I wonder. Like someone just has.
Wasn't he like president or something?
I think at the end of Forever, I think he's the president, or maybe at the beginning. I remember you're walking around like the White House at some point in that game.
Yeah, didn't it start?
Maybe it
him?
starts
I think
there.
maybe at the beginning.
Yeah, and then you like pull on a statue of his head, and he's got his whole like bat cave underneath the White House. or
Totally
whatever.
wrong approach. It needs to be him in a cardboard box on the street.
No, it just needs to be him hanging out at a local bar
Yes.
and just occasionally being like, "Hey, you ever hear about Duke Nukem?" And then just them being like,
he's the high
"Fucking
school.
no."
He's the high school quarterback.
Yeah,
that
he's Ed
all
Bundy.
all I can think about is his glory
He's
days.
totally Ed Bundy.
Yeah.
Right. And gets beat
Or Al
up by
Bundy.
a bunch of like
Al Bundy.
actual
basically-
high school kids.
Or he's totally
Ed
Ted
O'Neill. I got
Bundy,
Ed O'Neill and
if he was
yes,
Ted Bundy, that'd be cool too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically need to do what they did with Frank West in this New Dead Rising. Of like, guy saved the world once. Now he teaches a fucking night school.
Yeah.
And sits at his desk drinking out of a flask.
But without the redemptive arc, like there needs to just be like
He just sucks
he
now.
Still sucks.
I mean,
And, like,
maybe
to-
the redemption is that he finally understands why he sucks. Like that's the way it finally comes together.
you
Is there's
saying, like-
actual personal growth?
It's like Duke Nukem takes responsibility for his actions
Yes.
and apologizes to the people he hurt. in the
Yes,
video game.
that's what I'm talking about.
So
12 steps, there's 12 levels.
Telltale's Duke Nukem.
Duke Nukem is going to pay for what he said to you last
Like he has to save the world again, but nobody's willing to put up with his shit.
Finally apologizes for shitting down that pig cop's neck.
Yep.
Respect the police.
All right.
Yes. What else?